Ohayo gozaimasu, konnichiwa, konbanwa. Those are all greetings that you would hear if you ever visited the country that we're going to talk about today. Now, do you happen to know which country has the oldest wooden building in the world? Do you know which country is considered the most technologically advanced country in the world? Well, if you don't know, there's a hint right behind me. That's their flag. Yeah, we're talking about Japan. It's the land of the rising sun. And I have a connection with that country. Now, I spent 9.5 months there back in 1993. It was my first year in college, and I went there on a work study program through Lansing Community College. And that country is still near and dear to my heart. And I have proof that I was there. See, here I am, right here, on the top of Mount Fuji. So, that country, like I said, it's near and dear to my heart. And still, here we are 25 years later, and I still love talking about the fact that this country has so much cultural history, and yet you can walk down the street and you see technology everywhere, and they embrace both. So, we're going to go ahead and talk about today. We're going to start off by talking about the cultural history of Japan. And then we're going to go ahead and move on to modern day Japan. And lastly, we're going to talk about the perfect blend of both. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the cultural history of Japan. Now, I asked at the beginning of this, do you know which country has the oldest wooden building in the world? And of course, it is Japan. And according to Michael Turtle at timetravelturtle.com, and these photos are courtesy of him. This is the building itself. This is the Horyuji Temple in Nara, Japan. Now, the temple itself is a very large structure, but the pagoda that's on the inside, which is this 5-story pagoda, this is the oldest structure in the world. It was built in 600 AD. There was a fire, and so it had to be rebuilt. So it was rebuilt around 700 AD, and the rest of the buildings in the temple itself, the surrounding buildings, were all built around 800 AD. Now, Horyuji is just one of 77,394 temples in the country of Japan. Now, that's according to the Agency of Cultural Affairs, and here's just 5 of them. Now, 5 beautiful structures that you would see just by entering the country, and just about anywhere you go, you're going to find either a temple or a shrine. And the country itself has over 77,000 of these temples. Now, it's not just the buildings that is the cultural aspect of this country. Now, the people themselves embrace the cultural history as well. And when I say the people, I'm talking about, like, you have the geisha, which is the female entertainers, or you have the samurai warrior, which is the medieval military, and they were famous for carrying the katana swords. So, as you can see, the people have a beautiful history with the clothing that they wore and the heroes that they still look up to today. And so that's the cultural history of Japan. So now we got to go ahead and take a look at, modern day Japan. And I asked which country is considered the most technologically advanced country in the world. And of course, that's Japan as well. And these are just some of the companies that you may be familiar with everyday life, like Nintendo, or the vehicles that you drive with your Toyotas or your Hondas or your Suzukis, or, your Sonys, and you got your Motorola phones and all of that as well. And so we're going to go ahead and talk about just some of the main inventions that came out of Japan. And the first one would be the bullet train. Now, this was created in 1964. And before, when people of Japan wanted to go from Osaka, which is considered center of the country, to Tokyo, which is the main city in the east, it would take normally almost 7 hours by train to get there. Now, with the creation of the bullet train in 1964, they cut that down to 4 hours. Today, it's down to about 2.5 hours with modern bullet trains that travel about 160 miles an hour. In 2027, they hope to get that down to around an hour. Other advances in technology and inventions were like the pocket calculator, where before, if you had to do calculations, you would have to bring an abacus to work. So now they created the pocket calculator. Now this is a very large pocket calculator. You can't really carry it around in your pocket, but that was the point of it. And so this is more of a desk version here. And then there's the Walkman. Now, of course, today you got your iPods and all of that, but the Walkman came out of Japan, so people could go on the go and still listen to their music. Of course, Motorola got involved, and they combined the two, as well as talking on the phone and everything else. And so now you got your smartphones, which is your Walkman, your pocket calculator, your internet. It's everything that you need. So, as you can see, modern day Japan is still one of the most technologically advanced countries. Now your kids are going to see this video and they're going to look, hey, I know those. We've got the Sony PlayStation, we've got the Nintendos, the Wiis, the Pocket PlayStations, and so game systems are huge in Japan, and anywhere that you go, kids are playing the most advanced video games around. So that's talking about modern day Japan, and we've already talked about cultural history. Now we got to talk about the perfect blend of both. And what I mean by this is, when I was in Japan and I would be in a city, I could walk right down the street and you see all these high rises and modern day technology and vending machines selling everything that you want in them right on the street, and you go one block and you can come up with a temple or a shrine right in the middle of the city. And here's a great example of one. Now you can find this right on japanvisitor.com, and this is the Bannaji Temple, and this is in Ashikaga City. And now this is not part of the temple. This here is the oldest educational institution in the country, and this is the Ashikaga City school, and it's located next to one of Japan's oldest temples, which is the Bannaji Temple. So, as I said, you could walk down the street and just stumble upon a temple or a shrine, and that's what I consider a perfect blend of both. Another blend of both is video games. Now your kids, once again, those that are, enjoying Minecraft nowadays, these are temples that are built within the game itself, and kids are building these temples. And this is an ancient Japanese temple that you can just build within the game itself. But what about the people? Do the people blend both together? Well, yeah, they do. You can go with modern day weddings where you got the wedding dress or in the tuxedo, or you can go with a traditional style where the groom and the bride still wear kimonos. So as you can see, the country still grabs onto both, and they hold both near and dear to their heart. So today we had a chance to talk about the cultural history of Japan. We also talked about modern day Japan, and then the perfect blend of both. And I want to thank you for your time, and if you have any questions about anything that we talked about today, please feel free. Email me right here, mhitch05@baker.edu, and I'll gladly answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.